There's a specific type of game that just doesn't let you stop. Not because it's easy, but because it's so good that walking away feels wrong. Every title in this video is exactly that kind of experience. Fast, brutal, deeply satisfying, and completely ruthless with your sleep schedule. These are 10 action games that will have you staring at the clock and still going in for one more run anyway. Starting this list with Returnal. Returnal is the kind of game that keeps your heart racing almost the entire time you play. Most third-person shooters let you relax between fights, but this game never really does. Every enemy attack feels dangerous, and the screen quickly fills with glowing projectiles flying from every direction. It almost feels like a bullet hell game mixed with a fast-paced shooter, and surviving takes complete focus every second. The game is built around a roguelike system, which means every death sends you back to the beginning with very little carried over. At first, that can feel brutal. The runs are long, the enemies hit hard, and bosses can destroy you in seconds if you lose concentration. But the combat feels so smooth and satisfying that dying rarely feels unfair. Each run teaches you something new, and slowly you start reacting faster, moving smarter, and understanding the game better. What makes the experience even more addictive is how different every run feels. You constantly find new weapons, upgrades, and abilities that completely change your playstyle. Sometimes you end up with a build that makes you feel unstoppable, and suddenly the combat flows perfectly. Dodging attacks, chaining abilities, and destroying enemies starts feeling almost rhythmic. That's when the game becomes really hard to stop playing. Returnal earns its difficulty honestly. It demands patience, skill, and focus, but the reward feels worth it every time. Reaching a new biome, surviving a difficult boss fight, or finally beating a section that kept killing you feels incredibly satisfying. If you enjoy challenging action games that push your skills to the limit, this is absolutely one worth experiencing. If you have seen Hotline Miami 2, it looks simple at first because of the top-down view, but the second you walk into a room the wrong way, you are dead instantly. Every enemy feels dangerous, and the game forces you to stay focused every second. Before each level, you can choose different masks that give special abilities. Some help with stealth, some make combat easier, and sometimes you just pick one that feels fun and jump straight into the chaos. Compared to the first game, the levels here are much higher and more intense. Rooms are packed with enemies, bullets fly everywhere, and things can go wrong in a second. But when everything finally clicks, the game feels amazing. Running through hallways, taking enemies down one after another, and grabbing weapons from the floor without stopping, it creates this crazy rhythm that makes you feel unstoppable for a moment. You will die a lot in Hotline Miami 2. The game is unforgiving and does not care if you make mistakes, but restarting is instant, so the frustration never lasts too long. The music also plays a huge part in that feeling. The soundtrack is energetic, aggressive, and honestly makes you play faster without even realizing it. Hotline Miami 2 is designed to overwhelm you. It throws chaos at you constantly and pushes your reflexes to the limit, but once you understand its pace and enter that flow state, it becomes incredibly addictive. You finish one level and immediately want to play another. There is no game that really captures the feeling of Sea of Thieves. Sailing a ship with a crew of friends, seeing another ship far on the horizon, and then deciding in seconds whether to chase it or run away, creates a kind of natural tension that is never scripted. It just happens during gameplay, and because of that, every session feels different. The ocean feels alive, with waves, wind, and danger always changing the situation around you. The world itself is beautiful and full of atmosphere. The ocean moves with huge waves, storms roll in without warning, and sunsets light up the sky in a way that makes even quiet moments feel special. After a long journey with treasure in your ship, there is always that tense feeling that someone might attack you before you reach safety. Even simple travel becomes exciting because the world always feels like it is watching and reacting. Combat is simple to learn but becomes much deeper when played with a good crew. Ship battles are not just about shooting cannons. Everyone has a role like fixing holes in the ship, bailing out water, steering, or firing at the enemy. When the team works together properly, even a losing battle can turn into a fun and memorable moment. Playing alone gives a different feeling, quieter and more careful. but the real strength of Sea of Thieves is when you play with people you trust. It can turn a normal gaming session into something unforgettable, where small moments become stories you talk about long after you stop playing. Platinum Games took a stealth-focused franchise and completely transformed it into one of the most chaotic and stylish action games ever made. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance puts you in control of a cyborg ninja armed with a high-frequency blade, and the entire combat system is built around one simple idea, which is cutting everything. Enemies, armor, pillars, vehicles, and even parts of the environment can all be sliced apart using a free cutting mechanic that never loses its appeal. Enemies attack quickly and constantly, and instead of hiding or blocking, you are encouraged to stay aggressive. The parry system is a big part of this flow. Timing a perfect parry, then jumping into a full combo, and finishing it with slow-motion blade mode feels extremely satisfying. It becomes even better as you learn the timing, turning fights into something smooth, stylish, and almost rhythmic. Boss battles are where the game becomes truly unforgettable. Each fight feels like a huge set piece that keeps escalating in intensity. Even the music changes during battles, suddenly kicking in at the perfect moment and making everything feel more powerful and dramatic. The first time this happens, it creates a moment that really sticks in your memory. The whole game is short and tightly designed with no wasted moments or slow sections. Everything is focused on action from start to finish. By the end, it almost naturally pulls you back in, because replaying it on higher difficulty feels less like starting over and more like improving a skill you already want to master. Cult of the Lamb mixes fast roguelike combat with a strange but charming idea where you run a cult. At first, the game grabs you with its cute cartoon style that feels almost harmless even though the theme is dark. But what really keeps you playing is how everything connects together in one smooth loop. You go out on dangerous dungeon runs to fight enemies, collect resources, and survive random challenges, then you come back to your base to take care of your followers and grow your cult. The combat during dungeon runs feels quick and satisfying. You always get different weapons and special powers, so every run feels fresh and a little unpredictable. Some runs are easy, some are harder, but it never feels unfair. As you get stronger in battles, you bring better rewards back home, and that makes your cult grow faster and stronger over time. Back at your base, the game shifts into a management experience. Your followers depend on you for food, faith, and care. If you ignore them for too long, they can become unhappy, sick, or even start causing trouble inside the cult. This means you always have to balance two sides of the game, fighting in dangerous runs, and also keeping your followers stable and loyal. The mix of action and management makes it hard to stop playing. Every small goal leads to another, whether it is upgrading your base, recruiting new followers, or defeating the next boss. The game fully commits to its strange idea, and that is what makes it so addictive and easy to lose hours in. Bloodborne feels like From Software working in a completely different style. While their other games often reward patience and careful defense, this one does the opposite. Waiting too long usually leads to death. The game pushes you to stay aggressive all the time. You move forward, keep attacking, and even regain lost health if you strike back quickly. It creates a combat system where hesitation is punished and confidence is rewarded from the very beginning. The world adds a strong layer to this feeling. It is built on dark Victorian Gothic streets, narrow cobblestone paths, and thick fog that hides danger around every corner. Enemies look disturbing in a way that stays with you, not just simple threats to defeat. Every new area feels heavy and tense, and exploring it gives a constant sense of fear mixed with curiosity. The atmosphere and gameplay work together so closely that every step forward feels meaningful. Combat also changes through its transforming weapons, which shift between two forms during fights. Learning when to switch and how to use each form becomes an important part of mastering the game. Boss battles test everything you have learned up to that point. You read attacks, stay close, and try not to lose control under pressure. Winning after repeated failure feels powerful and satisfying in a way few games can match. Even today, years after release, the game still feels powerful and unique compared to many modern action games. It is the kind of experience that stays in your memory long after you stop playing. Armored Core 6 is from Software, doing something very different from what they are known for, and it works really well. This is a mech action game built around speed, heavy firepower, and deep customization. Before every mission, you build your machine from scratch using different parts like legs, arms, weapons, and generators. These choices are not just for looks, they directly change how your mech performs in combat and how you handle each mission. The combat is quick and always in motion. You are constantly boosting across large industrial areas, flying through the air, dodging attacks, and firing heavy weapons at enemies. The game pushes you to stay active at all times. If you stand still or play too safely, you get overwhelmed very quickly. It becomes a constant balance of movement, aiming, and switching between long-range and close-range fighting depending on the situation. Boss fights are one of the strongest parts of the game. They are tough, but they rarely feel random or unfair. Instead, they often feel like problems that need the right build and strategy to solve. When a boss keeps defeating you, it usually means your mech setup needs to change, rather than just your reflexes improving. That makes the garage and customization system just as important as the battles themselves. The campaign is packed with different missions that keep changing the situation and goals. As you play, you unlock more parts, which keeps the building and experimenting loop interesting. The game rewards players who really engage with its systems, and once you get into that rhythm, it becomes hard to stop playing. Doom Eternal is a game that constantly pushes you to keep moving and thinking at the same time. You never really have enough ammo, so you are forced to use the chainsaw on enemies to get more bullets. When your health is low, you set demons on fire to get armor. Even the glory kills give you health back. Everything is connected, and once you understand this loop, the game stops feeling like a normal shooter and feels more like a fast, violent system you are trying to control. Movement is just as important as shooting. You are always moving, dashing, jumping, and swinging across platforms while fighting. Standing still is usually a mistake because enemies keep closing in from all directions. The arenas are built with height and layers, so you are constantly using vertical space to survive. Learning how to move smoothly through these spaces is what makes the difference between struggling and playing well. Each weapon has a purpose, and different demons are weak to different tools. The game constantly pushes you to switch weapons, adapt, and react in real time. When things get intense, you are not just shooting randomly. You are making quick decisions about what works best in that exact moment. That is where the real satisfaction comes from, especially when you clear a tough fight without losing control. By the later stages, everything becomes extremely fast and intense. The game demands full focus, and every fight feels like a test of your skill and rhythm. It can feel exhausting, but in a good way, like you have been pushed to your limit and want to try again just to do it better and cleaner. Hades is a roguelike game that makes the genre easy to understand and enjoy without losing its depth. You play as Zagreus, the son of Hades, trying again and again to escape the underworld. Every time you die, you go back to the start, but the game never feels like it is wasting your progress. Characters still remember your past attempts. Relationships slowly grow, and new dialogue appears, so it feels like the world is always moving forward even when you restart. When combat happens, you can choose from different weapons, and each weapon has its own style and alternate forms that change how you fight. During each run, you also get special powers called boons from Greek gods, and these powers can combine in many different ways. This means no two runs feel the same, and sometimes your build becomes so strong and well matched that it feels almost unstoppable in a very satisfying way. The game also lets you adjust difficulty through a system that adds extra challenges. This makes it flexible, so new players can enjoy the story and action without stress, while experienced players can make the game much harder if they want more challenge. This balance keeps the game enjoyable for a very wide range of players. On top of everything, the writing and voice acting make the game even more engaging. Conversations between runs give more personality to each character, and the story develops in a way that respects the time you put into playing. Over time, it becomes less about just escaping the underworld and more about caring for the world and characters inside it, which is rare for a game built around repeating runs. Finally, we end this list with Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight earns its reputation through patience and challenge. At first it feels quiet, almost empty, and you often get lost because there is no clear map showing where you are. Enemies are not forgiving either, and small mistakes can send you back quickly. This slow and lonely start is intentional, and over time the world slowly begins to open up and feel much larger and deeper than it first appears. The movement and combat begin in a simple way, but they grow into something very skillful and satisfying. As you keep playing, you learn small tricks like timing attacks better, using spells more smartly, and combining different charms to fit your playstyle. The game does not explain most of this directly, so you learn by playing and experimenting. This makes your progress feel natural, and you slowly realize how much you have improved without even noticing it. The atmosphere is one of the strongest parts of the game. The hand-drawn art style gives the world a dark but beautiful look, and the music adds a feeling of sadness and mystery. Every area feels like it has its own story, even without much dialogue. Boss fights are a big highlight, often looking amazing while also testing your skills in tough ways, especially the optional ones that push you to your limits. In the end, Hollow Knight becomes the kind of game that stays in your memory for a long time. Even after finishing it, moments like a hard boss finally being defeated or a hidden area being found still stick with you. It feels like a complete and important experience from beginning to end. And that's the kind of games that quietly steal your night without you even noticing. If you enjoyed the list, drop a like and subscribe for more games that are way too hard to put down. Let me know your favorite addictive action game in the comments. There's always another title that could have made this list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.